Welcome IOL student PowerPoint 2022 presentation for investigative techniques, polled IT21. Tutor's details are as follows. Alex Mtakalo Morizazi, my number is there, my email is there, my contact time is there. Introduction covers Unit 1 to 13. Preparation for examination. Students are encouraged to read this presentation with a study guide for better understanding. Consists of one assignment equals to 120 marks with a pass mark of 50% and above to qualify for exam and 12 credits. 3 times examination papers, each 120 marks with 50% pass mark and above. 3 times questions, 1 times 7% basic level of thinking, 2 times 20% requires thinking, and 3 equals to 10% high level of thinking is required. This will equip students with knowledge and skills to collect reliable information during crime scene investigation. The use of various investigation tactics or techniques such as suspect interview or interrogation, witnesses, writing of good statement, recruitment of informers, information retrieval, analytical abilities, and either ethical manner, prepare and providing evidence before court. The module seeks to incorporate the basic forensic science and ballistic evidence in evidence gathering by law enforcement. Unit 1, Theories of Forensic Investigation. Physical evidence and forensic investigation. Type of forensic evidence found on this crime scene. Their usage to link different components of the investigation. Value of forensic evidence. Definition. Any object, mark, impression, smell or sign, large or microscopically small, which might help the investigator understand what happened and lead to identification of the criminal. It provides link between crime and victim, perpetrator and the location. It is more powerful with ability that testimonial evidence defining what happened at any time and at any crime, it is tangible and solid. While assessing the testimonial evidence depends on the jury to find the witness if he or she is honest or reliable. Forensic investigation. Technology has become helpful in the sense that most microscopic evidence collected at a crime scene can be identified to an individual. Examples: a boot print to a particular shoe, a flake of paint to a particular make and model of a car. What denotes to forensic investigation dealing with all types of physical evidence recovered on the crime scene, which helps to resolve the crime. Types: steps, touches, footprints, fingerprints, paint scratches, hair fiber from clothing, broken glass, tool, marks left behind, blood and semen left behind even unconsciously. Value. They are the value of the evidence. They are factual evidence, cannot be wrong, it cannot prejudice itself, it cannot be wholly absent, only its interpretation can err. Only human failure to find it, study and understanding it can diminish its value. Classification of physical evidence. Transient evidence. By nature, it's temporarily and easily changed or lost. Examples: odors, temperature, imprints, perishable items such as snow, food, sand, stain on objectives exposed to water. Conditions evidence. Conditional evidence resulting from an event or action. It can be easily lost if not documented immediately. Examples: lighting conditions, smoke direction, color, diversity, the location of an object in relation to another object, status of a body, e.g. temperature, degree of composition. Pattern evidence produced by contact between one person and another person or object, example, burn patterns, shoe prints, fingerprints, injury patterns, blood spatter. Trace of transfer evidence. The classic types, the result of physical contact between one person or object and another. Example, paint, glass, soil, blood, bodily fluids, gunpowder, residues, which is GPR. Classification of evidence by its general nature. Biological, blood, semen. There are three classifications of evidence by its general nature. We have biological, chemical, and physical. What is this biological evidence? Blood, semen, saliva, body fluid, hair, bone, tissues, urine, pollen, botanical insects. What are these chemicals? Fibers, chemicals, glass, soil, gunpowder residue, metal, mineral, controlled sulfamic, drugs, paper, inks, and paint. What is this physical evidence? Fingerprints, firearms, handwritings, paintings, tire marks, footprints, blood spatter, typewriting, bite marks, tool marks, undermines, leaf, pin, palm prints, miscellaneous, laundry marks. What is this miscellaneous evidence? Laundry marks, voice analysis, polygraph, photograph, Comeo, patents, watermarks, and proof. The value of forensic investigation. The role of physical evidence, linkage theory. The value of include the role of physical evidence, linkage theory, associative evidence, interpretation value of evidence. The Office of Crime Scene assesses the scene and identify any evidence with value to investigation and gather that evidence. The scientist analyzes the sample which have been recorded. The result progress and passed to the investigating officer who makes an interpretation of the value of the evidence to the case at hand. Finally, the court where the evidence is presented remains with the prerogative of a judge and the jury to make their own determination on the value of the evidence and what it means to the case. The value of forensic continuum. Basic principles of physical evidence analysis. Comparison and identification. Class versus individuals. Characteristics. The role of observation and perception. The importance of context. Importance of crime scene reconstruction. Ross Gardner listed 4 underlying principles of crime scene reconstruction. Superposition, how you find the evidence. Continuity, way to when. Chronology, information that is relates to the crime. Relationships, how do you link those evidence to the crime? Crime scene reconstruction is carried out using the principles of the scientific methods. Potential issues, preservation, keep an open mind, and contamination. Unit 2, Basic Elements of Forensic Science. Introduction. Forensic science, different disciplines, some pioneers of forensic science and their contribution. The main areas of forensic today, general work of forensic scientists, the value of forensic science brings to an investigation and ethical consideration. Definition of forensic science. The National Institute for Justice in USA, the application of sciences such as physics, chemistry, biology, computer science, and engineering to matters of law. Therefore, forensic science makes use of scientific technologies and methods to determine how crime was committed and by who and what evidence is. History of forensic science relevant to the crime began in China during the 6th century with the practice of legal medicine. In 1946, the book When You, the Washing Away of Wrongs, was published in China and described, amongst other things, how to distinguish drawing from strangulation. It was the first record application of medical knowledge to the solution of crimes. The original forensic scientists were self-taught doctors and chemists with interest in specific areas of their field, which then could be applied to collecting and analyzing physical evidence in criminal cases. For example, Sherlock Holmes, a characteristic who developed as forensic science knowledge was rapidly expanding. Arthur Conan wrote in the Sherlock Holmes stories between 1886 and 1927. Unit 2, Basic Elements continue. As many forensic fields were coming into being, the first fingerprints bureau opened in London in 1902. As time goes, forensic science evolved into its own discipline, and then as science and technology advanced, it evolved again into many subsections, all contained within the forensic science field. Each subsection made up of experts in their particular fields, such as fingerprint toxicology, chemistry, and DNA. Pioneers of the field of forensic science. The list below is the list of the pioneers of the field of forensic science. It's for you, dear student, to read them as they are listed and understand what did they do. So as they are listed, Matthew Ophelan, 1787 to 1853, is a Spanish chemist and the founder of toxicology. Wilmer Herschel, 1833 to 1977, British civil servant, first to realize during his study and documented the uniqueness of fingerprints. Joseph Bell, 1837 to 1911, a Scottish surgeon, the inspiration of fictional character Sherlock Holmes, emphasized the importance of close observation in making a diagnosis and was a pioneer of forensic pathology. Henry Fox, 1843 to 1930, Scottish missionary and pioneer in the field of fingerprints identification. He was the first to suggest fingerprints recovered at a crime scene could be compared to those of an individual fine mesh. Gans Karassis, 1847 to 19, Australian criminologist, considered the father of criminal profiling. He observed criminal faults in the criminal justice system and devoted his career to the appointment ethics and the scientific methods to forensic processes. Some of those are as follows. Please continue reading them. In the study guide, read and understand various departments of forensic laboratory, the forensic science lab, and this can be read both international and the national one in Namibia itself. The most and common accredited ISO, International Standard Organization, 17025 consists of 5 elements as follows: scope, normative reference, terms and definition, management requirements, and technical requirements. Meeting a nationally or internationally recognized standards is a mark of competence and quality standards. National Forensic Institute of Namibia, as of 23 June 1993, examines crime scene, physical evidence, conduct a research, and it is a multidisciplinary scientific research facility. Departments continue: physical science, chemistry, biology, ballistic, documents. Those are some of the departments that we understand. Toxicology, evidence collection, computer forensic engineering. Namibia's forensic laboratory was inaugurated by His Excellency Dr. Gengop on 16 April 2020 in Windhoek. As you can see the picture below, role of forensic scientists: two specific areas: analysis of physical evidence, provide expert testimony in court. Those are the most important roles of forensic scientists. Ethics is forensic science. In ethics in forensic science, forensic scientists must remain impartial and report their findings based on science, obtaining information in a way that testifies the scientific requirements of validity, reliability, accuracy, and precision. Examples of ethical misconduct within forensic investigation include planting evidence that points to the defendant and collecting evidence without warrant, falsifying laboratory examination and ignoring evidence at a crime scene, reporting on forensic tests not actually done, and fabricating scientific opinion based on individual interpretation. Examining evidence when not qualified to do so, that extending expertise beyond one's knowledge, using unproved methodology, and devastating on expert opinion by using terms of unfamiliar to jury, failing to report a colleague, superior, or subordinate who engages in any of the previously listed activities to proper authority. Unit 3, Scientific Method Validation. Introduction. Scientific approach to crime investigation: induction and deduction, subjectivity and objectivity, scientific methods. Definition of science: study the word and try to understand and find out why things happen as they do. Examples: physical, biological, social. From the time of formation of the universe to the stage of human intellectual and emotional development, to the migratory patterns of butterflies. Scientific methods: make an observation, asks the question and define the problems. From a hypothesis, collect the data, test the hypothesis, form conclusion. Aspects of science: induction and deduction, objectivity and subjectivity, causality and correction, failures, fallacies. Application of scientific methods to forensic investigation: scene reconstruction in the forensic laboratory. Unit 4, Collection, Processing, and Packaging of Forensic Evidence. Introduction. Collection, processing, packaging. Crime scene as the source of potential information. Protection of evidence to ensure its admissibility in court. The process of forensic investigation has 4 critical factors: recognition, collection, testing, and presentation. Basic crime scene examination. Investigation of crime scene requires knowledge, skills, and tools, a methodical approach, flexibility, and coordinated effort. This can be broken down into several components. assessing, observing, documenting, searching, collecting, processing, or analyzing. Stages of crime scene examination. Arrival at the scene, the first response, and securing the scene. 3 levels of security: outermost perimeter, people with legitimate. Inner perimeter allows people, vehicles, and higher ranking police officials access to the area. It will contain the command part, limiting excess pressure, the scene and evidence it contains, which is of critical importance. Any scene, scene integrity, scene safety, specific hazards, biological structure hazards, chemical and inhalation hazards, personnel protective equipment, nitro gloves, disposable Tyvek suit with wood and shoe covers, bioterror hazards, and the preliminary survey. Basic crime scene examination. Searching. Search areas such as location, point of entry, exit, appliances and utility ashtrays, and scans, clothing, and furniture. 5 basic search patterns: spiral search, line search, grid search, zone search, and point-to-point search. Documentation. Notes. Notification, arrival, description of scene and obvious evidence, description of victim, crime scene, and investigation team. A collection: light source, tape and lifting, gel lighter, casting, tweezer, and paper fold, syringe swabs. Processing and packaging. Paper and paper bags, containers, tin, plastic, non-tamper evidence bags, evidence boxes, evidence tubes. Packaging protects personnel from possible hazards such as accidental firearms, biohazards, shape objects, and exposure to mold. Furthermore, packaging protects the evidence from loss, contamination, gross transfer, and deterioration. Summary. Does a packaging information documented on packaging, evidence description, evidence source, chain of custody, unique, identified number. What processing is needed? Healthy hazards, required storage conditions. Summary of do's and don'ts of packaging evidence. Do's: completely seal the evidence. Do choose the correct size of packaging. Do separate each item into its own packaging. Seal the package using the correct methods. Sign and date across the seal and note all the relevant information, including identifying number. Use the appropriate packaging for items. Summary of do's and don'ts. Continue. Do's, don'ts: don't leave any area unsealed. Don't try to fit too much in a small container. Don't put several items in one container. Don't use staples to seal envelope. Don't leave seal unsigned or forget to add all the case information. Put sharp objects in paper packaging or trace evidence in large envelopes. Unit 5. Legal principles governing forensic science. Evidence, two types of evidence: testimonial evidence, real evidence. Is oral testimony given under oath by witness? Real evidence is any object presented as evidence determined by the CPA Act 25 of 2000 and under Section 5.3, Section 1 and says of evidence, identification of evidence and discovery. Testimony, the expert witness giving evidence. Namibian laws, evidence such as expert evidence. Unit 6, DNA evidence. DNA, deoxynitric acid, biochemical compound found in the nucleus of every cell type of the body, and it carries genetic material. It is genetic code that defines every living thing, 4 different types of nucleotides, all bases which comprises of DNA. Adenosine A, thymine T, guanine G, and cytosine C. DNA samples common C below table. Dear student, here it's a matter of correction. DNA sample common C below table. There is no table below, but the summary of the things, you can find them in the guide. Unit 6, DNA evidence continue. Some of these can be identified as blood liquid with the total ng milligram, blood stain, semen liquid, post-coital vaginal swab, hair with root shed, saliva liquid, saliva oral swab, urine, bone, tissues. All those are DNA evidence. Unit 7, trace evidence, introduction. Evidence transferred from one individual or an object to another, analyze it can provide, evaluate to an investigation, revealing links between people, place, and objects. Every contact leaves a trace. Collecting trace evidence at the scene. Tweezers, tape, lift, vacuum collection. Fibers, animal fibers, plant fibers, synthetic fibers analysis. Paint, household paint, automotive paint, comparison and analysis of paint evidence. Glass, analysis of glass evidence, the value of glass evidence. Other types of trace evidence: hair, soil, plant matter. Unit 8, footwear evidence. Introduction. Contain higher value of evidence. It is found at every crime scene. Can be recovered easily. Shoe print can assist to reconstruct the event of the crime. Identification of the perpetrator. 6 different methods for sole manufacture: die cutting, calendering, rubber, compression, molding, injection molding, slash molding, and crepe rubber. Types of footwear impression left at the scene: visible print, plastic print, latent prints, plastic 3D impression. Recovery methods: casting, second impression, visible impression, latent impression, such as floors, glass, walls, doors, and other objects. Recovery methods for latent footwear evidence. Identification of footwear evidence. Test impression methodology, ACE analysis, comparison, evaluation. Footwear impression as an aid to investigation. Direction timing such as weather, blood, sequence, class characteristics such as sex, age, other information linkage. Unit 9, questioned document evidence. Introduction. Analysis of handwriting and signature. Comparison of ink and paper sample and guide to evidence collection at crime scene and analysis. Evidence from document refers to any evidence regarding a document whose origin or authenticity is unknown. Range of analysis of document: comparative examination of signature and handwriting, detecting alteration to documents, handwriting, text insertion, page substitution, recovering and deciphering faded bleached, altering, erased, printing, reconstructing, shredded, torn, chopped, and other damaged document. Determine the source of anonymous letters, extortion notes. Determining whether travel, identity, security documents are genuine or counterfeit. Determining whether or not entries on document are original or reproduction. Determining the method of production of machine-generated document, laser print, inkjet print, photocopy, fax, mail, or some form of commercial printing methods. Determine the source and possible date of production of documents generated by various typewriters, printing and reproduction. Deciphering typewriter ribbons and the possible matching of specific entries to suspect typewriter ribbon. Developing latest writing impression in document caused by the act of writing on overlying sheet of paper. Determining the sequence of impression and actual writings on subject documents. Determining the relative, occasionally absolute time when entry were made. Unit 9. Determine the likely sequence of line processing, non-destructive examination and comparison of inks and the sphere using photo, analytical methods, handwriting analysis, features of handwriting, natural variation, forced variance, analysis processes, ACE, signature. Unit 10, fingerprints, introduction, cornerstone of forensic identification of fingerprints and DNA, the history of fingerprints identification, its development as a field, the concept fingerprints and how they are compared. Definition of fingerprints, an impression left behind by ridged skin on the inner surface of the hands and the feet when it touches a surface while sweating, other liquid, paint, grease, soft substance like perfume. How fingerprints are formed. The structure of skin, friction, frit, growth and development, increases uniqueness and persistence. The features of fingerprint. Fingerprints pattern, arch, loop, delt and wall, ridge, future, minutes, details. Recovery of fingerprints. Fingerprints powder and lifting. Chemical development, print quality, taking fingerprints from individuals. Unit 11, safe custody of evidence. The laid down procedure in chain of custody, documentation steps, the possibility of non-admissibility of collected evidence of trial, safe custody of evidence should be considered by investigation. They are the critical aspects of investigation techniques. Chain of custody, proper evidence, correctly sealed packaging, proper labeling, safe transportation, secure and safe storage, records of possession. Unit 12, crime scene wrap-up. Introduction, ensure all evidence has been collected. It is safe to turn the scene back over to its owner. Finalizing the crime scene investigation. Recheck of the scene, record recheck of the scene, check beyond the scene, on-site debriefing, conduct a final survey, release or secure the scene, formal debriefing. Unit 13, crime and data acquisition and management. Introduction, individual data of the criminal justice system such as court files and aging police file cabinets, digital records management system, transformation of criminal justice system into data-centric systems, fallibility and the consequences of data errors. Crime data, police data system, crime reports and criminal intelligence analysis. Collection and generation of crime data, data collection, data generation, data error, the impact of data error on individual and their communities, and system errors leading to wrongful arrests, and on government. Strategic intelligence focuses on long-term aims of law enforcement agencies, review on current and emerging trends, opportunities for controlling actions, threats to public safety and order, development of counter programs, avenues for change to policies, programs and legislation, changes in the crime environment. Operational intelligence provides investigation team with hypotheses and information concerning specific elements of illegal operation of any sort, information about specific criminals network, individuals or group involved in unlawful activities. It enables the team to discuss the methods, capability, vulnerability, limitation and intention that could be used for effective law enforcement actions. A good knowledge of operational intelligence is a higher recommended prerequisite for developing strategic intelligence capabilities. Intelligence gathering. The process of intelligence gathering, the intelligence cycle, direction and collection. Open source, which is public available. Closed source is collected for specific purposes, and the classified is collected by specifically tasked convert. Analysis, collection and collations and evaluation must not be influenced by personal feelings, but must be based on professional judgment, must be made separately to the information. It must be carried out as close to the source as possible. Sanitation and dissemination. The process of intelligence gathering continues. Intelligence analysis and organized crimes. Basic data analysis techniques, link analysis, flow analysis, telephone analysis, and computer-generated charts. Different technologies used in crime data acquisition. Crime mapping with GIS software, social media, data monitoring, car cameras and license plate readers, LPR, body-worn cameras, BWCs. Dear student, this is the end of our IT slides. It's for you now to put your energy and read the slides with the guide to understand the crime investigation technology. I thank you, dear student.